What's up, guys? Today we're playing Epic 7, and we're gonna go into Episode 2 and defeat Incomplete Faustus. If you're anything like me, you probably autoed most of Episode 2, and then your run started to fail as the fights got more and more complicated. This might be the first time you've had to manual, or you might have different heroes that you have to build in order to beat this boss. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at the mechanics and the type of heroes that you can build in order to move on to episode 3. Now I'm going to use basic builds from Specialty Chain's 3-star heroes to show you exactly how it's done. Feel free to use any hero that you want to use. If you have 5-star or Moonlight heroes, those are going to work here as well. But for right now, let's go in. We're going to check out this boss. We're going to defeat him, and we are going to move on to episode 3 so that we can unlock Mercedes and all of her changes.
Death, destruction, extinction.
All right.
Here we go. We're taking on Incomplete Faustus, who is the boss of episode 2. He is an amazing looking boss. He does a ton of stuff, so we're going to go ahead and go over all his skills and how to beat him. Now, one thing is that I'm bringing in all 3-star heroes, and these are all specialty change heroes. One thing that I love about the game is that you can use specialty change heroes pretty much for all of your PvE content all the way through all the episodes of the game without too much problem. And so don't be afraid to build some of these heroes that are really good. Things like Mercenary Helga, things like Doris, we have Montmorancy here, we also have Alexa, Ras, and then Carmainerose. These are some of my favorites. SC Airwell, also very nice. Wanda is good in PvP as well. There's only a few specialty change heroes that I really don't use. But right now we're going to look at this boss and what kind of skills he does. So very first thing is that we have a passive ability. At the start of the turn, is going to dispel all debuffs inflicted on the allies. So make sure that you don't bring in AoE debuffs, nothing like a dizzy or anything like that, because it's going to make those adds very strong. The other thing is that when he suffers a non-critical hit, that it's going to be much reduced damage. So make sure that you're landing, either bringing in light heroes or bringing in heroes that have very high critical hit chance. Also, he's always going to land a critical hit. If you have trouble, you can kill the adds first, but I think that we're going to go straight for the boss. This is a lot going on right here. They put a book onto this next passive ability. Basically, we're really not going to worry about it very much. You cannot one-shot the boss, and when he gets below 40%, he's going to do some things that are on there. Next up is he's going to drop some buffs and some debuffs. So this is very important when you're attacking, and again, always going to result in a critical hit. When we look at his next ability, that again, dispelling buffs and granting buffs to himself. So we can bring people in who can strip. We have Ras, and we also have Zealot Rose, who's going to strip. And then when he reaches 40%, he's going to do this even if you decide that you're going to kill the adds. If you go straight for the boss, at 40%, he will trigger this next skill. This is going to turn all of your buffs into debuffs. So make sure that you don't buff up a whole bunch before we trigger him onto the next. But for right now, we are going to use this, and we're going to move on with the boss. Now, as we go into the Alexa, we can see that he's not immune to poison. Also down here, he's not having reduced damage from skills that are based off of his HP. So this means that Alexa's S3 will be very good. You can also bring in a Daydream Joker, and you'll be hitting this boss very, very hard. I brought in Alexa just because I wanted to use her. Specialty change Lorena will also work in this instance. But let's go ahead. We're going to drop down these poisons and start taking some bosses.
My turn?
Okay, let's go ahead.
It's
We're going to
hard,
S3.
but I
Angelic
won't give up.
Montmorancy is very good
If
in a
I
lot of
win, you
PvE
join
content
us.
because
Deal?
she can do heal after heal after heal, and she has very little cooldowns. I do like Zealot Carmainerose quite a lot. I use her for Light Expedition. You can also use her for the Earth Expedition. I use Tamarin or Tenebria on that one, but you can use her as well, and they're pretty much the same. For this, we're going to be decreasing speed, and then of course we have that unable to be buffed, and also the strip onto her S3 when that
You
comes up
can't run
next
from
turn.
me. I won't back
Very
down.
nice. She hits so hard. And now we're going to do more damage with our Alexa.
For the glory of Ithera!
Feel free when you're doing this boss to bring in 5-star heroes,
I'll
bring in
help you.
Moonlight heroes if you have them, but really what I want to
It's going to be
showcase is that you
okay.
don't
I'll
need
protect
these
you.
types of heroes in order to do it. Now on this here, what we can do is we can soul burn. That'll bring a dual attack chance. Or what you can even do is you can use your Archie, and that will trigger him below into that 40% range. Now I really don't want to yet because he's going to convert all of these things into the debuffs, right? So let's see how he goes into the next turn, and we're just going to do some minor attacks
I have to take you with
onto
me.
the ads. Very nice. Look at that, stunned more than one
I will
hero.
do
That
my
was
best.
insane. Let's see what else we can have here.
If I must fight. Yeah. All right, let's do
Now that we
this.
no longer have any buffs, it's going to be a good chance to
I'm
go
ready.
in and start to attack the boss. But I want to do it after I get a healing phase off. So let's get this one kill here on the ad.
I'll keep
Very
going.
nice. And now we are going to go ahead
Even
and
if it's just a little.
trigger this boss below
I love
40%
you.
on our next
Time
turn.
to spread the word.
Here we go. This just, the soul burn here increases your buff duration. We don't need it. As long as you have at least 35% effectiveness, and most of you should, even if you're not trying for it, you'll be able to get the strip and remove these
I'll
buffs.
take you somewhere nice. So be good and follow me.
There we are. Now, I didn't think about this, but she has quite a lot of
I'll
buffs.
help you.
Maybe that was a
If it
bad
must just
choice.
be painful, I'll do my
But
best.
let's go ahead. We're gonna do it anyway, and let's finish him off with this hit
The
here.
order of the sword. Never back down.
Whoa, we
We get
didn't
started?
did not trigger. That is okay. We're not going to do this one. Let's just
Yeah.
get in an attack,
I'll make you a believer.
and then we are going to let's just get an S1 here. Very
May
nice, and
despair
that triggers that third skill.
fall.
Is it my
He hits
turn?
so hard, and you can see here too, he increased our skill cooldown. At this point, you're not able to remove these buffs. You can remove the critical hit resistance if you choose to. You can also Archie here, which, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that.
Ta-da! Here comes Orky.
Sacred power.
Very nice. The shield is
Won't back
gone,
down.
and let's start putting down some more
All
poisons.
right, let's do this.
Let's go ahead and we are going to heal up a little bit here.
No destiny.
Our Alexa is going to
Can
be
stop
going
me.
next, so it should not be a huge issue.
I'm ready.
Now, the reason that we have her going next is because it increased her combat readiness by 30%, so keep that in mind that you might cycle past your other DPSers if you're using Alexa. And just like that, he is gone. Now let's take a moment and talk about the heroes that we use today. And first up is Adventurer Ras. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring in a knight who can mitigate some damage. So make sure that you're bringing in somebody with Aureus or a built-in damage mitigator that can redirect something from your attackers and your Soul Weaver onto your front hero. Now, Adventurer Ras is really great into a lot of areas of the game, so I like to use him as demonstration purposes, and his gear is pretty average, which makes him very relatable. You don't need to have very much effectiveness for this boss, just like 35%, and so you should be fine. Run him with some defense, try and get at least 20k HP, and then any amount of speed should be good. If you wanted to run an HP pair of boots, that will work as well. Again, his main function here is to mitigate the damage a boss is doing. Feel free to bring in a different kind of knight that you like to use that is able to do that same function, and you'll be fine. Now, with Adventurer Ras, we do have the Soul Burn on his S2, which will help him do much more damage. So keep this in mind if you use Adventurer Ras, that every turn you can Soul Burn and get this dual attack. Also, there's a 70% chance that he'll be able to land that defense break, and that might help you cycle through and get that boss to 40% to trigger his next phase. And next up, we have Angelic Montmorancy, who I really like to use in these types of videos to showcase just what you can do with basic everyday gear. This stuff is level 78 or less. It did not roll amazing. And we have people that we can use it on, like Angelic Montmorancy, and she will function just great. I could upgrade her gear to something a little bit better, but I really don't see a reason to. She works in Guild Wars, she works into a lot of the content that I would bring her in, such as this PvE stuff. You can also bring her into something like Automation Tower, and she'll keep all your heroes alive. And this is because she has a 2-turn cooldown on her S2 and a 3-turn cooldown on her S3. So she's constantly cycling. I like to run her onto Rod of Amaryllis, but other types of artifacts that either increase your healing or your combat readiness, like Tome, will work very well here as well. We like her because she is able to remove debuffs onto both of her skills. So this means that when you are going into a debuff heavy fight like Tower or like Incomplete Faustus or like Bellion or other types of PvE content, that she's constantly cycling and she's able to remove them. I even used her all the way up through raid. Go check out my video onto the normal raids, and you'll be able to do pretty much all of them with Montmorancy. So don't be afraid to build her. Also, build yourself a Doris, who you can use in this slot, or any other hero that can remove debuffs and put down a lot of healing so that you don't die when you trigger that second phase for the boss. And next up, we have Alexa, who I'm using on Aaliyah's knife, but feel free to put her on Daydream Joker. You can put her onto Tomfa, any damage dealing artifact, and she will be good. Again, this is some gear that you should be able to roll quite easily. There's only a couple pieces of level 90 gear. And really, what I have her built for is for something like Wyvern. So she's a fantastic hero to use in Wyvern, and she does just a ton of damage. When you're using her in Wyvern, her S3 deals additional damage proportional to the debuffs afflicted, but also when we go into her skill tree, then we can see that she does additional damage onto her S3 based on the target's max HP. So a Daydream Joker is 3%, she does 5%, and that will stack with your Daydream Joker, making her just a incredible nuker. It's been proven time and again that she's better for Wyvern than Cigarette. I don't have any other way to use my Cigarette, so I'm just going to leave her alone. But if you have not built your Cigarette for Wyvern, then definitely build your Alexa. General attacker stats would be fine. We'll try and run her at over 3,000 attack, try and get to 100 crit chance, and then put the rest into crit damage. Now, if you're going to use her for a Wyvern, then it will help you to get 65% Effectiveness, as with all of our hunts, 65% is good enough. But she works fantastic. Feel free to put her on any gear that you have, and she's going to do an amazing job. And now we come to Zealot Carmainerose. I just want to find a way to use her, and she works in so much content. I really wasn't expecting her to work so well into so many things. But I have her built for light expedition, so feel free to build Zealot Carmainerose, and she will help you through a lot of PvE content, but also through expeditions. I have her on Calardra just so she can do a little bit more damage. But again, feel free to put her onto Daydream Joker or any other artifact that you have as a general damage dealing artifact. Now, what I want out of her is that she can dispel all buffs. This means that when you're going into Incomplete Faustus or any other type of boss, dispelling those buffs means that you'll be able to land the crit, and that means that you won't be triggering that passive ability that we went over. She also has decreased speed, which means that you can now go through and cycle faster than the boss and be able to put down more damage or more healing and get hit less. She does have some healing on her S1, but really it doesn't matter too much. We're looking at general damage build again, and I have mine built for expedition, so we want to have at least 85% effectiveness when we're doing an expedition boss. She's really great in light expedition because she comes with all these debuffs, which is amazing. You can run her a little slower, but I do like to cycle her pretty fast. So again, with damage stats on Alexa, try and get at least 3000 attack. I like to run her at about 180 speed. Go for crit chance, crit damage, and you don't need effectiveness for this fight, but as you're building her up for other types of content, try to get to around 80 to 85. Episode 2 is really the first time that you're going to experience some difficult battles. There are achievements, there are different kinds of PvE bosses, there's tower, there are all sorts of things that you can conquer in Epic 7. So feel free to take this primer and run with it. Take a look at the skills, take a look at the passives, take a look at the heroes that you can bring in. In this video, I used 3-star heroes with average and okay builds, but nothing spectacular. We didn't see things like Daydream Joker that you can bring in. We also didn't see things like Rage Set. By the time you get to this area, you should have some pretty decent gear that the game has given you through completing your achievements and also completing your hunts and other types of content. Put together a core team that you can go through the episodes and really conquer and unlock this. Especially when you get to episode 3, we want to be able to conquer Bellion. That way we can unlock Mercedes and her new skills because she is super meta and super amazing in Epic 7 against pretty much all of the meta content that's out there. So I definitely recommend her. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Give me a like so other people just like you can find it as well. Until next time, happy hunting and good luck on your battles.